Elite Gaming.
What's up guys, it's Andrew at Elite Gaming HQ, and in today's video I have more benchmarks of PUBG on its new desert map, Miramar. If you're new to the channel or you haven't been following, I've already done two other benchmarks of this map, one with the GTX 1080 and one with the GTX 1060. And also tested a previous map with about 6 or 7 different video cards. So if you want to check that out, the links are in the description, or I'll put a card right here. Now when the game finally does come out, reaches a 1.0 status we should say, I'll have to do all these tests again with both maps just to see what the final result is, but this is mainly to see what kind of performance to expect with the current state of the game. Now I don't imagine that they're going to optimize the game too much anytime in the near future, as they also have optimization problems on the Xbox One. So sit tight, it's probably going to be a long ride. I would say maybe even a year before we get a well optimized game. So this is the game as it is. If you wanted to upgrade your system or build a system for this game, that's why I make these tests. Now I'd like to talk about the test system. The test system was a Ryzen 1300X, overclocked to 3.6 GHz, 8 GB of DDR4, and a 4 GB GTX 1050 Ti. How I ran the test was I used fraps, and I set the timer for 240 seconds, and I just played the game. There's a couple caveats. One is I didn't go to the same area every time, so some people might complain that the test is not exactly repeatable, but I disagree. I feel if you do a long enough test, everything should come out in the wash, and you should see how the game actually runs, and this is why I'm against a lot of those in-game benchmarks. The footage in the background I just put there so you have something to look at. That is not actually a test system, because to actually record while I'm trying to get the FPS would actually give you slightly skewed results and lower the FPS overall. So we don't want that. So just remember the background footage is just for you to look at. And it was taken with my GTX 1080 build. The other caveat is, since I did this on a newer system, I did not click the box to get you min, average, and high. So we just have average results today, which I'm fine with. It gives you a good idea of what it's going to run at. And once again, we're going to test again when the game finally comes out. So these are good numbers for a baseline. Plus, I would like to compare when it actually comes out to these numbers and see what kind of result we get. So for me, this works perfect. Now, a lot of my tests I test in 1080p and 1440p. This test will just be 1080p. I was going to try 1440p, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. GTX 1050 Ti is not a 1440p card. And I also added the very low preset, since this is a little more of a budget card. And I usually don't do the very low preset. That being said, let's get into very low. For very low, the Miramar map on this system build ran an average of 94 FPS. Though very low looks something like N64 graphics, it ran really smooth. But let's move up to low preset. On the low preset, you got an average of 86 FPS, which to me pretty much indicates that no one should ever be playing a very low, since low and very low are very similar in performance. Although some presets I personally like to turn on very low, like the foliage. Next, let's go to medium, which medium I feel this is the preset that most people are going to utilize, and it also makes the most sense with this video card. For the medium preset, I got an average of 63 FPS. So basically with the GTX 1050 Ti, you can run this game in medium and not really have a problem. Get a 60Hz refresh monitor, lock on VSync, and then have at it. Now a lot of people have told me they don't like VSync, but I personally do because I get screen tearing if I don't use VSync, and I feel for me personally 60 FPS is all that I need. When I upgrade my monitor in the future, then I'll probably lock at a higher FPS. But let's move on to the high preset. Playing the game on high, we got an average of 55. So once again, in high, it's very similar to medium, but the problem with high is I did feel a little jarring stutters when I played. You gotta think I ran the game for 4 minutes just to get the benchmark, and I also played a little more of the game, so I seen firsthand how the game feels, and I feel like 55 with jarring spikes is not a good gaming performance, not at least as the medium was. So lastly, let's move to Ultra, and I don't recommend playing this game in Ultra, but I like to test in Ultra just so I have a benchmark to compare to the other video cards, like the 1060 or the GTX 1080. But for Ultra, we got an average of 39 FPS, which to me is actually really solid. I was surprised to see it this high. Very good performance out of the 1050 Ti. Now in the next video, I'm going to test the difference between 8 GB and 16 GB of RAM to see if you actually will benefit from 16 gigs of RAM in this very game. And if you're interested in that video, just stay tuned and make sure at the bottom you hit the sub and a notification button so you don't miss that video. And I greatly appreciate anyone who's a part of the notification squad. But what I would do different in future tests is obviously I want the average, low, and high. At least the average and the low are very important to me, and I would run a test longer. Although 4 minutes is a good slice to see see your average FPS, I think the real way, and this probably wouldn't even deviate the numbers much at all, but I think the real way to go is probably like a 10-minute gameplay. If I ran this for 600 seconds and got solid results, I'd be sure to get a great average FPS. It would aggregate so much more time, but that's just an afterthought, and these tests do take a long time to put together. So I hope you guys enjoy, and as I said, the next video will be the RAM video, and then after that I have a video coming for power supply units as a PC hardware video, and how much do you need for your computer, that kind of stuff. So I hope to see you in the next one. My name is Andrew. This is Elite Gaming HQ. Thanks for watching, guys.